tuned in to the 2-Minute Warning, a live stream community conversation pertaining to social and political issues and how we can collectively resolve them. Powered by the Westside Gazette.
Good evening and welcome to the 2-Minute Warning. As you can see, I'm flying solo this evening. I hope that I'm joined by my co-host Perry out of where's Perry now? Arizona, and our other host David is enjoying himself at the Sea Breeze Jazz Festival. So I'm here coming to you live from the Old Dillard Museum, where we are celebrating 100 years. And 100 years is nothing to shake a stick at. And to be able to come to you live at this historic venue, the Old Dillard Museum, which was the first school for African American students. One of the philanthropists, Mr. Dillard, gave the monies to buy the land from the city of Fort Lauderdale to build the first Black school. And so here we are tonight celebrating 100 years. And I'd just like to refer to my notes if I can and go back just a little bit. In 1907, it was the first school for African Americans. It was named for Dr. James Hardy Dillard, a prominent philanthropist and an educator. Old Dillard Museum is listed on the National Register of Historic Places. It has a lot of history in this building. I don't know where to start from. Again, welcome, and we're going to interview several people that have been involved in setting up this celebration. Right now, you probably can hear Randy Corinthian, local jazz musician on a national level, out playing for the audiences. It's a very large crowd outside of this building on a Thursday night, getting ready for the weekend. There's several activities planned, and we are happy or elated to be a part of this celebration. To tell you about some of the history that's housed in this museum, Attorney George W. Allen, who was a graduate of the University of Florida, one of the first Black graduates of the University of Florida's law school, the case where he sued the Broward County school system to get his two sons to attend and integrate the school system. Some of his works have been donated by the family, and they're in this museum. But right now, we're in the children's room, African diaspora, all of these, artifacts that have come from Africa, different countries in Africa, and we're sitting here in the room. If you see behind me, there's a replica of a children's hut with all of the paintings and kente cloth, and some of the drums, some of the musical instruments, and other. Wow, I wish you can pan the room and see some of the stuff in here. But nevertheless, we are here in a room steeped with culture. I see we have first guest coming in. Okay. All right. Well, while we are I'm ready. Okay, while we're doing this, let's get our sports historian on the set. I see him in the back room. Okay, Coach Robinson.
Good evening.
How are you this evening?
I'm doing fine. Ready to go.
Ready to go?
Ready to go.
It's a new experience when you go live in a different setting.
Yes.
Right now, steeped in this room full of culture. I'm taken back, man, like I'm in another country.
Well, it's a beautiful sight from my vantage point, and I know there's a lot of history there,
Mhm.
and I've been there, so that really makes you think about how far we've come and how far we have to go.
Yeah, let's stay on that topic for one moment, Coach. Uh, you said you've been here. Not only have you been here in this place, but you've been a part of the history that this place represents.
Yes.
Okay, give us a little bit about it.
Well, I was one of the first coaches in the county to work at a predominantly white school, and that's something in itself, you know. And then we had others after. I wasn't the first, but I was one of the first, and that was important because it let people know that that we had skills and we were capable of leading students, no matter what from what background. And it always takes somebody to give you a chance, an opportunity, and that was afforded to me, and we've just taken it and run with it, you know. And coming from the South, the deep South, things like that are so important because it really teaches you something about your background and where you come from.
And I just returned from Israel, and we know that the Jews say never forget. So the fact that we're here, part of our history that we should never forget.
Yes.
Okay, Coach, you wanna bring us up to date on a little bit of what's happening in the sports world out there.
Well, it's really interesting, Bobby, that we're broadcasting now as the football draft is just beginning on ESPN. So, I guess we can compete with anybody. But before I talk about the draft, I wanted to talk about the Reggie Bush situation. I know you remember Reggie Bush is one of the great running backs from University of Southern Cal.
Absolutely.
Yeah. He won the Heisman Trophy. They won the national championship that year, and they were undefeated, defeating Notre Dame in the championship game. Well, he was accused of receiving extra benefits from boosters, and everything was stripped from them, including not only the victories and the national championship, but also his Heisman Trophy. Well, the Heisman Trust, after seeing all of these changes that have taken place with the NIL and all of the benefits that college athletes are now receiving, such as Caitlin Clark, who is about to sign a multi-year deal with Nike, great basketball player and well-deserved. Well, they decided to restore Reggie's Heisman Trophy to him, and I think it's made a lot of people around the country very proud and happy, and it was something that should have been done a long time ago. He's represented by Ben Crump and a group of attorneys. They've been fighting the NCAA for a long time to get it right, because he said that the witnesses that spoke against him were unreliable and vague, and so they found him guilty of receiving extra benefits on the basis of someone who was not reliable. So they're still fighting it. The NCAA has been rigid in their stance to not restore the championship or the victories, but the trust, which is over the Heisman, did restore that. So that's one step in the right direction. So I'm sorry, go ahead, Bobby.
No. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but you said that so Reggie has his trophy back.
He has been the Heisman Trophy that he won in 2005, that was taken away in 2014.
Right.
Just yesterday or the day before has been restored by the Heisman Trust, which is not the same as the NAACP. They're two different entities, two different organizations. But he has that, and he's still fighting the NCAA to have the victories restored and the national championship restored that they won at USC in 2005. All righty, and just a couple other things. I was really surprised at the Miami Heat and how they defeated the Boston Celtics last night. So right now they're tied 1-1 in the series, and it now returns to Miami. But the Celtics had the best record the entire year, and they were sitting back waiting on everybody else to vie for a position. You know, Miami was in the same position last year as a play-in team, and they got to the finals. Now, if they continue to play the way they played last night, that could happen again. They did what Boston has been known to do well, shoot threes, and they defeated Boston decisively last night. As I said before, the NFL draft is on right now, and the out of the top 10 draft picks, I think most of those will be quarterbacks and wide receivers for the most part, with Caleb Williams from Southern Cal probably being the number one pick. I think it's already happened with the Chicago Bears. So that's going to be interesting tonight that we'll have to deal with. Just a couple other things, Bobby, if I may. FAMU has named this basketball coach. He is Patrick Crary, and he's familiar to us in South Florida because he coached the St. Thomas Bobcats for the last 2 years to highly successful seasons, winning over 20 games both years. So we hope that he can bring that same success to FAM, and we wish him well. And last week we didn't have the show, but I wanted to mention Morgan Price. I don't know if you
Morgan Price.
Yes, from Fisk University. You know where I'm going with this?
Well,
she's a gymnast who from HBCU, the first to win national championship from an HBCU, the all-around title, which includes the vault, the parallel bars, and a couple of floor exercises. So that is something to really to shout about. You know, Morgan Price. I hope people don't forget her, and we may be hearing about her in the Olympics if she makes that team. And that's about all I have for you tonight, brother. Unless you have some questions for me, anything.
Well, you know, you are there any surprises in the draft that you any sleepers?
I was really kind of upset with the Bears, to be honest with you, because I thought they had a good quarterback in Justin Fields, whom they traded to the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I just read where the Steelers may not want to give him that 5th-year contract where his salary goes up. So he's going to be competing with Russell Wilson in Pittsburgh. But they decided for some reason that Caleb Williams was a better quarterback than Justin Fields. I'm not so sure about that, but time will tell. And Bob, just one other thing. The Tennessee State team of 1957, coached by John McClendon, they went undefeated, won 3 national championships. They were the first HBCU team to win 3 national championships, or even won the first national championship. They were honored at the White House at the behest of one of the great players in New York Knicks history, Dick Barnett. You remember he played on the 2 championship teams that the Knicks won, you know. So that was really something. That was something that was well-deserved and long overdue. In our paper, we saw most of them sitting in wheelchairs. That's how long it's been, over 60 years. Yes. So that's something to shout about also.
Absolutely. And Coach, speaking of the newspaper, there was a young lady, another gymnast, up and coming. Pitt, what's her last name? I can't remember.
She was in the paper?
Yeah. She's up and coming. So that would be another from high school. So that would be another person to keep our eyes on.
I think they're competing this weekend in Cleveland also. Yes.
That's correct.
Yes.
Well,
we'll
Coach,
talk about that next week.
Good, very good. And thank you so very much, Coach, for keeping us informed with what's happening on this Noonie on the sideline.
Noonie on the sideline. Do a great job. Have a great show. Thank you very much, man.
All right, thank you. Okay, now I know it's difficult for our audience to sit there and probably not be able to hear what's going on. That was our sports aficionado, Coach Robinson, giving us a play-by-play of what he thought was the news, if you will, for sports this week. Okay, to our listening audience and viewing audience, we have one of the curators of the Old Dillard Museum. I don't know if he was the first, but Derek, were you the? Well, I'm gonna bring Derek on. Derek, come on over. Get you a chair. Sit you down here. Okay. Okay. You put these together so we can hear us. Okay. Mm-hmm. You can figure that out, man. You're cool. Excuse me. Just turn around. We good. We good. All right. Okay. To our viewing audience, we have with us Mr. Derek Davis. Now, Derek, let me see if I can date myself. I think it was 1983 that you came here. Was it 80s? 40s?
No. Well, I came here to Fort Lauderdale in 2001 as the head of exhibits and programs at the library. Okay. I didn't come to the museum until 2007.
Okay.
And before me, Ernestine Ray. And she did some marvelous programs. Some of the permanent exhibits we have here are a result of the work that Ernestine did. And, they were lovely exhibits. She had some medical issues. In fact, she's having some medical issues now. So we were trying to get her to be a part of this because of she couldn't be a part of this.
Derek, walk us through a little bit, from the time you came, what this place was like. I mean, we know Miss Ray did. She did some great stuff. But you came in and you've done some things too.
I did, but a lot of things I did, it was because of what Miss Ray had. She had these nice permanent exhibits. She had a great mailing list. And a lot of my success was based on the fact that I just tried to tap into what she'd already done. She had already had some jazz things going on, so I saw that. So I pulled on that. I the history of Florida, doing a lot of things about the May 18th, which is the Florida Emancipation Day, doing the jazz concerts, the Cannonball Annual Jazz Concerts, doing Juneteenth celebrations, the Kwanzaa celebrations. I would just to tap into what she had started and get people to know that the place was here. So even then, even when I was here, there was still a lot of people that didn't know that they had this gold mine building, gold mine of history right in their midst. So I just tried to get the word out, let them know, and bring people in, bring scholars in, bring artists in, just bring the history of this building together.
I remember, I do believe you were the curator when we came, when the Black Press came to the museum.
Yes.
Yeah, that was some time.
And in fact, it's the auditorium of the school.
Exactly.
Yeah, so beautiful. There was a lot of. I had so much help from people, like you said, from things like the press, from some of the scholars from universities that are around here, from the artists, Black people like Brandon Jurgen that's out there now, and even some of the visual artists like Thomas Parker, Wanda Paulette, Charles Mills, something like that. Wow. All of them bring beautiful projects. The building has such a history and beauty that it's kind of hard to mess up.
Leave it to somebody.
If somebody will, but it's hard.
No.
Because when you think of this building it did so many things in the Black community. It was the first building where Blacks could go beyond the sixth grade. A lot of people don't know the history that they were letting Blacks go to school, but they were letting them go to the sixth grade. That was it. So this is the first building that Joseph Ely, he's the principal here, he tested and just started adding grades. Now they only let him get up to the 10th grade. So when he left in 1930, the school was just up to the 10th grade. Okay. And it wasn't until Clarence Walker came in 1937 that he got the school up to the 12th grade. And once it became a 12th grade, it became the 12th grade for all Blacks in Broward County. Okay. So, a lot of people see Dillard, they just think about Fort Lauderdale. But when you look at the graduates of Dillard, we have graduates of Dillard all over Broward County, because at one time, this was the only place Black students can come to get their 12th grade education.
And that is, you're absolutely right there. That is something that we overlook or we forget, that we all came from here. This is where Black education started from. See? Right. And okay. Let me freak you out a little bit. Who were some of the notable students, Black students that came from here?
And students, probably the ones that got the biggest was Dr. Nard Davis. who many of them were as Gloria Marshall was her name. She came in, and the interesting story about Dr. Dawson is that she had to fight to get a diploma from Brown County. When she was in about the 11th grade, Fisk University came to town, and actually in Miami, and they gave a test to try to find smart students. Now she had already, I think she'd already skipped about 2 or 3 grades, and she took the test and she passed the test. So in the 11th grade, she left and went into a Fisk program and ended up getting her master's degree, her doctorate degree. And it was many years later, but she always felt that she was a Dillard graduate, so she actually wanted a diploma from Broward County. And they fought her for many years to say, well, you didn't finish the 12th grade here. And so she actually had to fight to get them to give her a diploma with her class from Broward County. Okay, and this is the lady with a doctorate. That was president of Lincoln University. Yes. But she did not have a diploma from the county that she went to. She didn't have a, and she loved it so much that she wanted to get that diploma. And it's even funny that one of the teachers here, Cannonball Adderley loved the school so much. He didn't go to the school, but he was a teacher here in this building, and he went to the other building. And he talked about Dillard so much that his nephew, Matt Adderley, started his company, his production company. His name Dillard. I didn't know that. Yes, he named his production company Dillard because he had learned so much about Dillard from his uncle Cannonball Adderley. So it's amazing the impact this had on people that come here. They can kind of like feel the energy of the school, feel what it does to try to make this community a better place. When you walk through some of the rooms, I know there's a room downstairs, and it has a picture of the Northwest Federated Women's Club, and which is still in existence now. They work with cities now, but that organization was actually formed by the principal, Clarence Walker. And he did that so that he could get money to start doing industrial educational programs here. Now when you look at these type of programs that come from the school board, the black schools weren't getting that support from the school board. So for them to have special type of programs, they had to raise money. And he got the women to organize, it's a national organization, he got them to be a part of the Federation of Women's Club to start raising money so he could have shop classes, so he could have band classes. So and he saw band as something that gave him employable skills. He didn't see it as art. He saw that if you could play instruments, there were hotels and things where you can get jobs. So he bought all kinds of programs. And in fact, there's a picture of a home economics class that we have. And in that home economics class, when I first saw the picture, I said, "Oh, how come there's only one girl in the home economics class?" And then Mr. Bradley, who was a real student here, he said, "Oh, she's the teacher." And I said, "Wait a minute, how do you got a home economics class and it's all boys? There are no girls in this home economics class?" He said, "If you think about home economics, you learn how to cook, you learn how to clean, and you learn how to sew. The boys were in that class so they can learn how to get jobs as cooks, so they can learn how to get jobs as janitors, and so they can get a job in the tailor shops."
You know, it's amazing. You're taking me back. Miss Evans, that was our, well, what class? What did we call it? Food and economics. Anyway, that was our teacher, right? And we had a class full of boys as well.
Yeah,
but it was I don't know, but to hear you talk about the essence of what came from that, we thought we were just doing something, not knowing.
You get prepared for a job.
Yeah.
So the music classes, the home economics classes, they were actually preparing people to be jobs, because when you were in those days, you did not, get clothes from China. Even in all of the department stores, their clothes were made by seamstresses and tailors that were local. So if a man learned how to sew, you could be able to work in those places. You'd be able to get the job. So it was all about jobs. when you even look at the history of Broward County, when it started its vocational education program, the because Dillard at that time it had moved, but Dillard had a great educational program. I think they did have
Had automotive, painted body, they had.
So they actually looked at Dillard as part of how they developed the Turner Tech and other technical schools in here. So a lot of that they looked at what Dillard was doing. Looked at, I think it was one of the schools that had some technical classes in it, and they actually formed Broward County's technical education program. But Black people have been doing it for years.
Mm-hmm. That was survival.
That was survival.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay, Derek. Okay. Tonight we have the community with a meet and greet.
Mm-hmm.
What's happening? What are some of the other things planned for this celebration?
Okay. The meet and greet is like you said, that's tonight. Tomorrow the meet and greet is at the Old Dillard Museum. Tomorrow at Dillard, starting at 5:00, we're going to have a look at some of the things. So we're going to have a talk. We're going to be talking to some of the class graduates. We're going to be talking about some of the history at Dillard High School. And then on Saturday, we're going to be at Oswald Park, and we're going to have a family fun day.
Okay.
And then Sunday, we're going to have a church service at 8:00 at Mount Olive.
Okay.
So we're trying to do 4 days. So it's so much history here that we thought that we needed to spread it out and just let people know that there's some great things that they should remember about this.
I am. As you talk, I can go back. I remember L.A. Lee Branch YMCA down the street.
Yes.
We used to come here because we didn't have enough space for all the kids to play. So we would come here and actually have our summer program here at Walker on the playground.
Did you know downstairs there's a picture of one of the baseball teams? The Negro, they were local baseball teams, but the local baseball teams in Fort Lauderdale, the Black ones, actually played on the Dillard field also, because it was the only field that had lights. So some of the Black teams, they would actually come and play. It's funny because when the gentleman who bought it here was showing us the picture, he was just trying to show us that him and his father were playing baseball. Then I looked at the background and said, well, what is that building in the background? He said, oh, no, that's Dillard, because this is the only place they had lights so that Black teams could actually come and play on this field. So this is part, and in those days, baseball was sort of like, it was the pastime of America. So you would have businesses that have baseball teams. You would have communities that have baseball teams. Dr. Sistrunk had a baseball team.
Hard right. Oh Lord, Ray's Market.
Yes. Oh, they have baseball teams. And to have a field that they could play at night and have lights, they would come to the field that was here too.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Burroughs, George Burroughs, graduated from Dillard High School.
Yes.
Yeah, and he was the one that put the lights.
He did the finishing job on putting the lights on that field. So Mr. Burroughs, and then that gave the community a place that even at night, sports activities could actually happen in this community. So
okay, now I'm gonna not throw no shade, but I'm gonna just to get the community back to where this was the hub of the community. Do you see? Have you noticed a change? Do you see the change, and how can we get that back?
And one of the things the museum is even doing to do that is, I think it's later in May, they're going to have all the Black student unions at all the high schools in Broward County try to connect up through this museum. To try to give the young people the history that they're missing. And I think that, to me, that was something that I was trying to do and couldn't get it done. And I'm glad it's finally seemed to be working, that all the Black student unions in Broward County, it's something, it's usually a high school program, but they'll be trying to connect it together through this community, and they will have connection to each other. Because we have a generation that we kind of like, they lost a step. We lost a step with it. And even America's kind of have lost a step. I was sad to hear on a program yesterday that in America, this is going to be the first generation of children that their economic situation is not as good as it's not better than their parents. I mean, this is the first generation where the children now do not have more opportunities, economic opportunities, than their parents did.
Well, hold on, dear. You got to explain that to me. Hold on. Now, you mean to tell me as technically sound as we are, right? I mean, we can send a man to the moon. We can do. You mean to tell me that our children are poorer than
Children are worse off. Worse. Think of, when I was talking to, in fact, I was talking to my children the other day, and they were talking about even mortgages and rent. And they were talking about, and somebody had this program that they're going to do that they would help the child with 30% of their income, anything above 30%, that they would try to help them get something. And I said, you know something, when I was growing up, they taught us if your housing expenses were more than 25% of your salary, you were messing up, that you were getting in a bad situation. Now kids have to actually have more than 30% of their income to try to get a house. So it's almost impossible for them to have a house. So that means our generation actually had it better, because if you look at what we were making as to what we paid for housing, it was only 25% of our income. Kids now, I know kids now, they can't stay anywhere because they can't afford the rent. So they are not better off than we are. They're actually in a worse position than we are. And this is not just for Black kids, it's for all kids. So you know if it's bad for all kids, it got to be bad for Black kids.
So we get the flu and all that stuff. Yeah. Okay. Derek, what's happening in this room here? What
Oh, this room, to me, this is a beautiful room. And this is one of the rooms that Ernestine Ray put together. And Ernestine Ray, as she was getting jobs, she was able to go to Africa, and it helped her to see the culture that was behind so many inspirations that she had in her life. And it kind of woke her up. So when she came here, she tried to show that connection of how Africa has influenced so many things about us, and how the way a lot of times the way we think as Black people, we think that we have learned them from other cultures, but it's not. Other cultures, when you look at the Greek and Roman ideas of things, they don't kind of match up to us. They're not saying, we're talking, if things goes around. We look at that circle of life. When you look back at Africa, it kind of shows that. And when you look at things about us now, you can connect them to some of the same themes of harmony and connectivity that goes back to Africa. When you look at things like part of the things we have in here is like that. That's the Indika symbol, but we also have a chart that talks about the Underground Railroad symbols. And when you look at the Underground Railroad symbols, what it starts showing you is that Africans have, from many centuries, used art as a way to collect history, and they can collect ideas and pass them down from one generation to the next generation. When you look at the Underground Railroad symbols, and I know one time they were talking about these were codes they were using to plot out maps to run away. Which, if there were some few incidents that is true. But when you actually look at what those symbols meant, they were ways to teach the children of things that you would have to know if you ran away. Harriet Tubman, when the first time she ran away, she wrote in a book that as a pig pen outside the plantation that she worked on. And she stayed at that pig pen for 5 days, eating the slop from the pigs, because she had no idea how to get food. So she said, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go back. And I know I'm gonna be, because I ran away, I'm gonna go back, get that beating, and I'm gonna make it my life mission to learn how to run away. So she had to go back and she had to learn things. So when you look at some of the things that were being taught in the quoting patterns they were using and the stories that go with them, there were things that taught you things that you would need to know to run away. There's a quoting pattern called bow ties. And the stories that go with bow ties is actually telling you about disguises. That if you're going to run away, that you're going to have to disguise yourself. And if you are a person that was wearing a bow tie, they would not think that you were slaves. So if you tried to steal a bow tie and get that, then you would be able to pass as something else and not get caught. And when you look at Frederick Douglass, when he ran away, he was with a woman who was very light-skinned and could pass for white, and she could sew. She sold him a soldier's, a sailor's outfit.
And you giving me the history that I didn't know.
Yes.
I knew some stuff.
She sold him an outfit, and so he was able to carry her clothes on there and pretend to be a sailor and be able to go north. So that's how Frederick Douglass was able to get out, using that same Underground Railroad thing of find your disguise to hide yourself to get away. But when you look at the quilting patterns, yes, they could be used to try to say some type of map, but the things that those quilting patterns taught you were things that you would have to know if you're going to run away. There's another one that's called, it's like those old zigzag lines. It's called a drunkard's path. And the drunkard's path is kind of telling you that the stories that go with it are that if you're running away, don't make it obvious where you're going. Make it, look be like you're a drunk man running in there, because if they know that you're going somewhere, they can make plans to get there. So a drunken path was teaching you that when you run away, make sure you hide, you don't, make it so obvious that where you're going to that place. And so and I'm saying that those are type of, when you look at African symbols and how they taught through the art, we were doing that and not knowing it.
What time is your class here? What time is your class here? Because we got.
We set up sometime. We'll get some things going. But and I'm trying to learn more about how to do some of the things on the with podcasts and things like that, so we can get some of that information.
Okay, before you go, a couple of things. How can a person get in contact with you, and to those who want to make a donation to the museum? How can they do that?
Yeah. I'm a president of an organization called the Trailblazers of Broward County.
That's another story. That's
another story. That's a good story. But we are helping the museum raise funds.
Yes.
So if they look up things for the Trailblazers of Broward County, they'll be able to find ways to, of course, to raise money to be able to help the museum.
And I said that was another story in reference to the significance behind the Trailblazers, which is a whole lot more history. That actually it started here as well at the Old Dillard Museum. Derek, I wish we had more time so we can continue this conversation. But to our viewers, and I can't really see the screen from here, but I see we got a lot of comments on there. So to our viewers, if you're interested, please come to the Old Dillard Museum and get involved.
Okay.
Thank you, Derek. All right, and I thought about Jerome.
Yes.
Yeah.
From
Yeah. I thought about Jerome. Jerome is another soul going on, but he was here.
Yes.
Hell of a photographer.
Yes. Okay.
Thanks, Derek.
Okay.
All right. So next we got a young man. I think he's probably a walking encyclopedia. If you guys know what encyclopedia is, and that's another historian, our brother Emmanuel George. Sit down, Emmanuel. All right. I'm gonna just lead you on, and you can just go do your thing. So no. So Emmanuel, how did you come here?
To the Old Dillard Museum.
To the Old Dillard Museum.
So I've been
way from Liberia. How did you?
So I've been coming to the museum for years. I would just be coming in as a fan, someone who loves history, and then eventually, the opportunity came that there was employment. So there's a lot of people that was applying, but not to be arrogant, but I knew I was the best choice.
How you gonna be arrogant?
They know young my age that's doing this kind of
with
work.
The history, yeah.
So I knew I was the most equipped, and and I could be here long term. I'm 35 years old, so that was how it started.
Yeah.
I applied, and of course, they chose the right one.
Okay, now, okay, Emmanuel. Tell us a little bit about your road to travel, not just here, but all the work that you've done, and the history you've collected and shared. Give us a little synopsis on it.
So I got to give thanks to my, I call her my mother, and historical spirit, Dr. Kitty Oliver, and she took me under her wing because I was following her work. She wrote the book Race and Change in Hollywood, Florida, about the Black experience in Hollywood and Liberia. And, I went to South Broward High School. I grew up in Hollywood. A lot of my friends, grew up in Liberia. So oftentimes as a teenager, I would hang out there. And I only knew Liberia as one way. And that wasn't the most positive ways. So when I stumbled upon Dr. Oliver's work, I was hearing about Addicts High School, not Addicts Middle School. And I was hearing about the Paradise Club. I was hearing about the Palms in Hallandale. I was hearing about the Chamber of Commerce that they were having in different Black communities. And it really inspired me to be like, you know what? I need to know more about what's going on in my backyard. The same way we talk about local politics being important, about knowing who your mayor and your vice mayor is, it's the same thing with your local Black history. We got to know who the streets are named after. We got to know why these empty fields are here and what used to be on these empty fields. It was houses, it was businesses, it was different structures. So Kitty Oliver really like lit a match under me, and then I just started. It became like almost like an addiction. So
Possessed.
yeah,
A young man possessed.
pretty much.
I felt some of your possession, but it's all good. Okay, now your role here. I see that what are some of the things you're doing to get the community to come back?
So one of the main things I'm doing right now is an intergenerational oral history program where select students from Dillard High School, from your journalist club, Stranahan High School also expressed interest as well. So I do have to share them and shout them out too. To be interviewing the trailblazers, the elders who went here when it was a high school. And that's to get younger students to be storytellers, to be archivists, to see that, yes, you could love history, but you can make a career out of it.
Back up. The words you use, that archivist, that word.
Yeah.
And young folk, parents, if you're out there listening, viewing, this word is really a keeper of what we have, our treasures. Tell them how does that work?
So archiving is many ways. It's preserving and it's documenting history. It's capturing a moment in time. It can be done in many ways. You could be documenting through oral history. In a way, that's what we're doing. We're capturing this moment in time. It can be through cataloging. So going through the photo books, and if I'm with you and I'm going through your photo books, and you're telling me, oh yeah, this is Mr. Clark that was in front of the Walker's grocery store in 1972. Okay, now I have this information. I have the date. I have who is who here. That's Mr. Clark. That's Miss Sally Smith. And now you're telling me who is who.
That's simple. That's good. That's good. Okay. All right. Come on.
And there's more too. There's processing. So that's going through the physical archives. Like the documents, the paperwork. You're going through the paperwork. You're putting them in order by year. And then you're making it easy for someone who want to find this information. For example, at the African American Research Library, I am processing the Yara Sadarkis' papers.
Were you here when we just mentioned her name?
I didn't. I wasn't here, but
Derek just talked about it.
Oh yeah, Derek's a genius. I look up to Derek Davis, and he's someone. When I was coming here before I was working here, I used to go into his tours that he was giving.
Okay.
Kudos to Derek.
Okay, now let's do this. What are some of the things? I know Derek, he began to talk about some of the things that were happening. Like tomorrow is at Dillard.
Yep, at Dillard High School.
Okay, so what's going to happen tomorrow at Dillard?
So tomorrow's going to be a panel. It's going to be like a history of Black Fort Lauderdale.
Okay.
Talking about the history of Dillard High School and how it all incorporates into the Black Fort Lauderdale experience. There's going to be on the panel. There's going to be several Dillard alumni. Ernestine Ray was supposed to be there, but
I know she got sick.
Yeah, she got sick. And I was, really, sending love to Ernestine Ray. She was the second curator here and the longest curator in Old Dillard Museum history.
I'm trying to see who was the first. I thought Ernestine was the first.
It was someone who was here briefly.
Yeah, just short.
Yeah, they were here for a short period of time. That's from what I see my research.
Okay.
When Miss Thomas, Lucille Thomas, was here.
Okay. Now so we got the history of Dillard and the Black community. What else is happening at Dillard?
Oh man, there's a lot happening at Dillard for the weekend. Just in general, at Oswald Park Saturday,
yes,
we're going to be having a big family reunion.
Does it cost to come there?
No, just come on in. Come on in. Just bring some. It costs. Bring positive energy. That's what it costs.
Will there be food and
stuff? Food, music, stuff for the kids. Performances. The whole night. It's going to be a big event. And even if you didn't go to Dillard, I didn't go to Dillard, but I got plenty of love for Dillard. So even if you didn't, you know someone who went to Dillard. Everyone knows somebody who went to Dillard. So
where it came from. We were just talking about that. This is
the epicenter.
Yeah, this is the birthplace. Yeah, for everything else, this is the epicenter. Yeah.
I don't know if Mr. Davis talked about it, but this was the first accredited high school in Broward County for Black people. So if you were living in Hallandale, if you lived in Deerfield, you needed to finish your education before you hit high school. In fact, in the first graduating class in 1938, in that photo, there's a photo of a fair-skinned woman in the middle, Miss Annie Sweet. You know,
Miss Sweet.
Miss Sweet. You know, her kids went to Atlas, but she went to Dillard, and she was in that first graduating class. So, you know, I mean, folks from the South Broward area, you know, who, you know, had transportation or might have had a relative in Fort Lauderdale, they sent their kids here to finish.
And Emmanuel, that dichotomy that existed then, it's happening now, but we're pulling away, and I'm so appreciative that through history and things you're doing, you're pulling us back together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I mean, and the goal right now is to get more younger children, more younger kids to be in this realm because it's fun.
Speaking of younger children, are you doing anything for the summer for young kids? Is there anything going on?
I mean, we're supposed to be doing some things in the summer. You know what I'm saying? Me and Bobby Henry, and you over here. You know what I'm saying? West Side Gazette. You know, we got some things in motion. You and I, we're going to be working on digitizing some of the original West Side Gazette papers, along with Dr. Hobbs and the African American Research Library. So, I mean, this is all of us. We're working together. So, that's pretty much my main summer thing I got going on right now.
And I want to say again to our viewers and listeners, is one way that you can stay connected is to know your history. And to know your history, or to get to know your history, you have to visit places and get involved. I'm sure there are volunteer bases, there are things you can do. You know, we can go back to the old way where we used to barter to get what we need. And so if you got a talent, I'm sure, Manuel, you can find some way to use that talent.
Oh yeah,
you know. So yeah. Okay, now let me ask you something else. What is the one thing that you want to do the most for your time here? What is it? What is it?
So the main thing I want to do here is to establish an archive repository here. So that way people can come to the museum and be able to extract files and documents for educational and research purposes. So if 30 years from now, someone can be able to grab and find information on Dillard in the 50s, Dillard in the 60s and 70s and so on.
Palms Club,
or the Palms, or you know, on Foster Road, or the Windsor in Fort Lauderdale. You know, I mean, there's so much fascinating stories because if we don't do it now, we are in a real serious time. And I always say that because we're in 2024. The last wave of segregated students are in their mid-70s. These are folks who graduated in class 68, 69, around that time before integration was happening. We're losing them. And once we lose them, a lot of the stories are going to be gone. We lost a lot of the early history of those who went to Dillard. No one was documenting those who was going to Dillard in the 30s and 40s like that extensively. So there's a lot of information that we do not know. Same thing for the 50s, you know, so we don't get this information right now and we lose our elders, you know, who was in that last wave. We lost a big part of Broward County history. So it's really serious to get on this right now.
You know, as you talk, and I see Jonathan Millman out in the audience, you know, we're the oldest, we are those people, you know, the ones that have the history. And if we don't share it or pass it on, you're right. We're going to lose it. Mm-hmm. But you said something that really struck me. Keep talking.
No, it's cool. It's cool. I mean, you know, it's if we lose our elders, you know, I mean, there's so many times I've been about to interview someone, next thing you know, they done passed away. You know, and then it's just like we lost that whole library. So we've lost a lot of libraries in Broward County. I mean, by libraries, I'm talking about our people who have so much valuable information. You know, so we really got to get on that soon.
I know what it was. Now, when you said that, you know, over at the Holocaust Museum, Education Museum, they have a room with the audio and all that. It would be ideal if we could have that type of facility, those things for us, by us.
And we got and this takes. I mean, I know we're talking about the Old Dillard Museum, but you know, this is something that, you know, it requires everybody. It requires our Eagle brothers, you know, that went to Addicts, our Tiger brothers and sisters who went to Ely. You know what I'm saying? Because it's all connected. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of times we look at the rivalry between these schools, and there was historic fights, and it was really serious. I mean, I get the history of Dillard and Ely, the Soul Bowl, you know, all the things that was going on. But we also got to understand too that, like, we're all connected. The first principal in this building was Professor Ely, who was married to Blanche Ely. And he was involved at Dillard, at Addicts. His wife was at Ely. So, we all got to come together. This is real serious time.
You said something again. The soul bowl, not the blood bowl. We as a people, and Emmanuel, you and Derek and the rest of those who treasure our history and protect it and guard it, like you do a gold mine. If we're to save our people, then it has to be to recognize our history, where we come from. And when you get right down to it, we're all God's children, no matter what. And the only way we're gonna get to be where we're supposed to be, if we get that spiritual connection back.
Yeah.
That's the only way we're gonna do it. Well, all right, now we got 3 minutes. What you want to say? Did we miss anything? What you want to do?
What do I want? Speaking from the heart. This is a great time. Stay tuned for tomorrow with the panel. Saturday, we're going to be at Oswald Park. Sunday, we're going to be at Mount Olive. So that's going to be the weekend festivities. Stay tuned for a lot more oral history happening at the Dillard Museum. More tours is going to be happening at the Dillard Museum. Just come by. Feel free to learn something. We have a lot of good things happening. So stay tuned.
And I do apologize. Look at the screen. You can see all the activities that are happening. So please come on out and support somewhere. One of those days, come on out. And if you move, come to church on Sunday. Let's pack this thing and let's see if we can have an old-fashioned, old time, get on down, good time. I see we got a meet and greet tonight. That's happening tonight. The historical moment is tomorrow at Dillard High School. And then the celebration and cookout at Oswald Park, and Soul for Sunday. So community, and I do apologize. I didn't read any of the comments that came up on the screen. I was so caught up in what was happening, engaged in the communications, that I didn't read. But I see you all commented. So please, Terry Dillard, I see you. I saw some other ones. Please, Miss Lumpkins, please, y'all come out and let's make this celebration worthwhile. It is 100 years old, and that's nothing to play with. 100 years of us surviving and telling our own story from a Black perspective.
Yes.
We can get better than FUBU, for us, by us. No, this is us.
This is us.
Yeah.
It got to be us to tell the story. If it ain't, it's going to be told in so many other ways. So we have to be the ones that's narrating it. The archive is important. We need more Black people in the archive community. And I will say this before leaving, is that currently I'm the youngest in Broward County history to have my own archive collection. Right now, what I'm doing right now is to get more younger people involved, so we can have more younger Black storytellers, more future archivists. Because if we have more of us, our stories can be told better, and we'll be able to obtain and gather information more. We need more of us. It can't be one person.
Mm-hmm. Emmanuel, I am. You've come a long way, and you've done a lot of good stuff. So let me give you your kudos right here in front of everybody. You've actually did what the griots do. Not only what they do, telling the story. You have become a sacred holder and keeper of the stories. And that's something to be commended for.
Appreciate it.
And I look around. I was looking at these symbols over here, and to think about the designers, the white designers who stole the symbols and used the symbols from our ancestors to profit off. We don't get nothing from it. So we got to continue to tell our story, collect our riches, and share them. So I want to say congratulations, man. And
thank you for having me, man.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not, and it's not over with yet. Like you said, this is only the beginning. Oh, okay. So you got a closing remarks for me? Then I'll make one.
I would say consistency creates reality. The more consistent that we all are, the more everything that we're looking forward to will come into fruition.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I will say this, and I'll talk about this more on another show. I just came back from Israel, and I had a very moving experience, not only from a safety standpoint, but one from a biblical introspection of what it is. And I can say that if we don't know and share and tell our history, we are doomed to repeat what troubles we got in before. So let's be mindful of that, and let's tell our story. Don't let nobody else do it. Thank you very much, and God bless. We'll catch you next week.